There's a quiet crisis unfolding in modern relationships, and almost nobody is talking about what it really is. It's not that women are leaving their partners because the men changed. They're leaving because their expectations changed, shaped by something far more powerful and insidious than real life, an algorithm. Social media has created an epidemic of comparison, a phenomenon so pervasive that it's making even healthy, loving relationships feel like they're just not enough. And when a woman starts measuring her real-life partner against someone else's perfectly curated highlight reel, the relationship often dies a slow death long before she ever walks out the door. You see, modern love is no longer a private affair between two people. It's a complicated dynamic between two people and the entire internet. A woman scrolls through her feed and sees a 30-second clip of a man booking a surprise vacation for his girlfriend. In the next video, another man has written a poetic, soul-bearing text message. Then she sees a guy who planned an incredibly elaborate, picture-perfect date night. He's followed by someone offering constant, eloquent, emotional reassurance. And, just like that, the man she's with, the man who might be loyal, hard-working, and kind, suddenly doesn't feel romantic enough. He's not expressive enough. He's not thoughtful enough. Why? Not because he isn't a good partner, but because he isn't performing for an invisible audience. What often gets forgotten is that the internet is a stage, not a mirror. Real, committed relationships don't come with soft lighting, trending background music, or cinematic filters. They come with the unglamorous realities of life: dirty dishes, mental exhaustion, conflicting schedules, shared responsibilities, and messy, imperfect communication. But this new culture of comparison has convinced millions of women that anything less than a constant, storybook-level display of affection is a sign of failure. It doesn't matter how supportive her partner is in the quiet moments. It doesn't matter how loyal he is when no one is watching, how hard he works to build a life with her, or how much he genuinely tries. A single unrealistic video clip, seen for just a few seconds, can instantly plant a seed of doubt and make him seem inadequate. This is how the poison works. Comparison turns gratitude into dissatisfaction. It transforms genuine effort into a baseline expectation. It morphs a loving partnership into a relentless performance. And the algorithms that run our social media feeds are masters at exploiting this. They know exactly what to show women to keep them watching. The content is emotional, it's romantic, it's highly idealized, and it's perfectly timed to hit you when you're most vulnerable. Why does this happen? It's simple. Fantasy goes viral. Reality is boring. So, without even realizing it, women become emotionally conditioned. The videos that make them feel desired, adored, chosen, and deeply valued are the ones that hold their attention the longest. The algorithm sees this, notes it, and says, "Ah, she likes this. Let's give her more." The content becomes progressively more romantic, more dramatic, more flawless. Over time, she starts viewing her own life through the lens of scenes that were scripted, staged, and never real to begin with. And her actual relationship is the one that pays the ultimate price. Suddenly, her partner isn't communicating enough. He's not planning dates enough. He isn't physically affectionate enough. He's not as emotionally fluent as the online relationship coach she follows. He's not as ambitious as the entrepreneur she saw on her Explore page. That word, enough, becomes a constantly moving target, an unreachable ideal. Men today are living under a constant, invisible microscope, and they're not being judged by their own character or their own effort. They're being judged against the edited actions of complete strangers online. And the most unfair part of this whole situation is that a woman never gets to see the flaws in the men she's comparing her partner to. She only ever sees the polished highlights. She doesn't see their bad moods, their selfish moments, their insecurities, or the arguments they have off camera. Meanwhile, she sees every single flaw in the man she actually shares her life with. Every mistake, every bad day, every imperfect, frustrating, wonderfully human moment. Real intimacy is about revealing the whole person, flaws and all. Comparison, on the other hand, only reveals the illusion. And in the short term, illusions almost always win until, of course, they inevitably fall apart. Women often don't realize just how deeply this comparison culture reshapes their own feelings of attraction. When a woman starts to subconsciously believe that her relationship is below average, she begins to disconnect emotionally, often long before she's consciously aware of it. Her tone of voice changes, her patience wears thin, her appreciation for the little things starts to fade. She becomes harder to please, harder to impress, and ultimately, harder to connect with. And it's not because her partner suddenly became a worse person, but because her expectations have been quietly elevated to an impossible, fantasy-fueled standard. Men feel this shift almost immediately, and it's deeply unsettling. They start questioning themselves. They think, am I failing her? Am I falling short? Am I not enough for her anymore? Is she slipping away from me? It chips away at their confidence. It can make them hesitant, anxious, and insecure in the relationship, which ironically are traits that most women are not attracted to. So, this cycle of comparison doesn't just create dissatisfaction for women, it quietly breaks the spirit of good men. Because men today aren't just competing with other men in their community, they are being forced to compete with scripted men, edited men, fantasy men, perfect men who only exist for 60 seconds inside a phone. And here's the part that really gets overlooked. Women rarely hold themselves to the same impossible, multifaceted standard they apply to their partners. They might want a man who is as wildly romantic as the guy on TikTok, as financially successful as the entrepreneur on Instagram, as emotionally intelligent as the therapist influencer, and as physically fit as the fitness coach. They essentially want the best traits of 4 or 5 different, highly specialized men, all rolled into one person. No single human being can be all of those things at once. And deep down, men know this. They feel the immense pressure of trying to live up to an ideal that's not just unrealistic, but fundamentally impossible. This pressure doesn't build connection, it crushes it. But the cruel irony is that the women who fall deepest into these comparison traps often end up feeling less satisfied and lonelier, without ever understanding the true reason why. The more a woman consumes a diet of fantasy romance, the less exciting and fulfilling real love begins to feel. Real, healthy love is consistent. It's not always dramatic. Real partners are stable. They're not always exaggerated. Real affection is often subtle and private, not staged for public consumption. This constant exposure to high-intensity, fictional romance rewires the brain to crave novelty, emotional fireworks, and grand gestures. But strong, lasting relationships are built on something else entirely. They thrive on rhythm, teamwork, open communication, and the millions of small, boring acts of service that will never, ever go viral. A man picking up groceries on his way home from work is boring. A man sitting down to pay the bills and manage the budget is boring. A man quietly choosing her, day after day, year after year, is boring, until he's gone. Then, and only then, does she realize that boring was actually dependable. Boring was safe. Boring was love. boring was the steadfast foundation that every fleeting fantasy lacked. Most women don't need a perfect partner. They need a healthy perspective. And the simple, unvarnished truth is that most women don't have bad partners. They have bad comparisons. Once you consciously decide to remove the illusion, to delete the impossible measuring stick, the relationship in front of you becomes clear again. Suddenly, the same man she thought wasn't enough becomes more than she ever realized. Social media itself didn't ruin relationships. Our misuse of it, through constant comparison, did. When you stop measuring your love story against someone else's highlight reel, you can finally see and appreciate what's real, right in front of you. Relationships don't need perfection to thrive. They need presence. They need gratitude. And most of all, they need people who are committed to choosing each other without looking to an algorithm for confirmation that they made the right choice. If this conversation made you rethink something today, that's a good thing, because understanding the problem is the first step in how modern love can finally begin to heal. Thanks for watching.